Ag PhD full episodes and more are now available on Acres TV, the newest ag platform connecting you to fields of information. Look for us on watchacrestv.com.
During our Farm Basics time today, we're going to talk about pesticides, how long you can store them for, and how long they remain effective.
Well, this is an interesting topic, and just happens that this last weekend I was cleaning out the garage and I found a little bottle of herbicide, and I don't know even when it was put there. I know it was at least 10 years ago. I think it was about 15 years since I've used that. And I thought, okay, well, here we go. Here's the test. It's in my garage. It's warm, so my garage doesn't freeze. And I got this old product. So my first concern was, can I even get it out of the bottle? Is it going to be sludge in there? It poured out just fine, like it was brand new. I thought, well, this is a great sign. And then I mixed it up, I sprayed it on some weeds, and I did just a little bit at a really high rate. So I sprayed it multiple times just to see, is this even going to work? Because I kind of wanted an early indication. I didn't want to spray it at the normal rate everywhere. I mean, I'm talking like 1 foot wide, just a few weeds, just to see, is it going to work? I saw it already within a few hours. So I thought, okay, I feel pretty confident this stuff's gonna work. And you know, you do this all the time on the farm. You have something that you don't quite use a full jug, and something ends up carrying over for another year. Well, then the next year you use something different and it ends up sitting around for a while. Or like me, you have a messy garage that you just don't clean out the final last corner for 15 years. And you're probably wondering, is this stuff even gonna work?
When manufacturers produce pesticides, they are thinking about the long term. I talk to farmers all the time that are all worked up because, well, my fertilizer dealer and he sells me chemical too, he's selling me old stuff. It's 2 years old already. And I go, 2 years old? That's not old at all. They manufacture these things. Sometimes they ship them from anywhere on the planet here to our country. By the time it actually arrives at your retailer, it's too late for the season. Then they might not sell it the next year. It sits in the back, and then it's sold the next year. There's no problem at all. We've used all kinds of stuff on our farm that's been 10, 15, 20 years old. It works fine. Now, I'm not saying it always will, but the manufacturers do think about the long term. Not just, is it viable, but like Darren said, how's it going to pour out of the jug 5 years from now or 10 years from now? A lot of the products out there are really good, formulated really well, and we don't see a lot of issues.
Now, if you're using a straight product, and that's what I had, one active ingredient, I didn't have any issue at all. Where I'd be a little more concerned is if I had a premix of 2 or 3 different products. Now, if something settles out, that can be a little bit of an issue, and I'll give you an example. There's a product that we used to use back 20 years ago called Marksman. It was a dicamba and atrazine combo. And when that atrazine would settle out, and it settled out relatively quickly, if it was the first year or two after it was made, it came back in pretty good. But every once in a while, if we had a jug that sat around longer than that, that atrazine could get pretty hard at the bottom, and it would take quite a bit of effort to get that out. So that would be my biggest concern when I've got a product that's premixed.
And sometimes just the straight goods, like if I think about generic mesotrione, so the name brand is Callisto, but the generics of those, we see it all the time where you open it up and it looks like cottage cheese. Now, the biggest thing, whether it was Darren's example of Marksman or my example of mesotrione, heat really helps. So if we can put this product in a building that's, let's say, 80 or 90 degrees, or just sit it out in the sun for a little bit and it warms up to 80 or 90 degrees or more, then things start to come back into solution pretty well. Also, just shaking the jug. And in fact, on a lot of products, they will tell you, shake the jug. Now, if it's sat there for 5 or 10 years, you might have to shake that jug really well. But generally speaking, these products turn out okay. About the only thing I get concerned about is when the product has frozen. And we don't worry as much about the active ingredients as the inerts. The inerts sometimes, they don't come back into suspension. You'll see some little floaters on top. A lot of times it's little black flecks or something, and you'd have to screen those out. So if you have a really old product, we usually suggest running it through a screen, and hopefully it takes any of that kind of stuff out that could plug your spray tips.
Well, if you're spraying a herbicide and it's been sitting around for a while, You're probably wondering, is it going to work or not? In most cases, the answer is yes. And if you're out spraying our Weed of the Week, you're going to need it to work because you want to get rid of this tough weed. We'll show you how to stop it later in the show.